Hi, lovely and darling readers. It's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm reviewing a graveyard book by Neil Gaiman. I'm super excited because this is my first review of 2017. What? One more year into this? I know. Okay. So the graveyard book focuses on nobody Owens, who is a very normal boy, except that he's raised by the ghosts of the graveyard and just spends his entire life in this graveyard exploring and getting to know the backstory of all these ghosts. And it's really just adorable, fantastical story. The book starts off when nobody is about a year and a half old, and his family gets murdered. His parents, his older sister, and the murderer, Jack, tries to kill the baby also, but the baby has escaped to the graveyard. And the ghosts find him and decide to protect this child. And it's really just it's sweet to see um, the different members of the graveyard kind of take care of him, all the different ghost backstories, um, like the fantastical elements of being a ghost, like being able to float through things and make themselves invisible and visible again, and they can do things like dream walking. So there's like this magical aspect to it. Uh, but mostly I just love Bod as a character. Like I really adore Bod. That's his nickname, by the way. Nobody shortened to Bod. Um, and like he doesn't remember the life outside the graveyard. So basically, he spent his whole life in this graveyard, and because he has the freedom of the graveyard, he starts to learn how to do things like become invisible-ish and walk through graves, which is cute. He also has a guardian, Silas, who is sort of this ghost, but he can also leave the graveyard, which is good because somebody needs to get food for a baby who can't leave for himself. Baby. I like the word baby today. Um, so Silas takes on the kind of protector role. Like he has, like nobody has these two parents, Master and Mistress Owens, who like really wanted a baby when they were alive but never had one. So they're like, yay, we get to have this kid. But he also has Silas, who's kind of this godfather type figure, I guess. Uncle, maybe. And Silas is like a little bit more distant from him, but like very concerned about like Bod's gonna have to leave the graveyard one day, so making sure that he learns how to read and then he has a good moral compass and can like take care of himself. Um, I love the relationship between Bod and Silas. It's like you could tell that they really care for each other, but they aren't like as obvious about it. Like they're not physically like hugging each other or even like saying "I love you," but it's totally there. Um, there's also like really some of the characters in this graveyard are really entertaining. Like Caius Pompeius, who is this really old Roman soldier who decided to stay and get buried in England, and so he's one of the first ghosts, the oldest ghost there. There is a witch who gets buried in there. There's like the lord of the area. One of them is buried in that graveyard, and just all the different backstories. One of them was this traveler, and he has all these stories of foreign lands to tell. But Bod picks up all these different like tongues and stuff, like different dialects from different eras, and knows how to talk to people and like read them from different time periods, which is funny. Um, each of these chapters is kind of set up as a short story that is connected. So like there's the time that Bod is first learning how to read, and then he makes his first friend, Scarlet. Um, Scarlet's parents are treating like the graveyard like it's just a normal park, like it's technically a nature preserve, and so her parents are there like watching the animals and let Scarlet just wander around this graveyard, and she runs into Bod, and her parents think that Bod is an imaginary friend because they never actually see him. So that one's adorable. There's also another story about him trying to get a headstone for the witch because she doesn't have one, and she's really like upset by this, and all the like different things that happen while he tries to get this headstone. Um, Bod tries to discover the oldest grave in the graveyard one time and ends up like running into this really old Celtic grave that's being protected by these guardians, and runs into this indigo man who's there to scare him, trying to protect this really old treasure. Um, so I love all the little tiny side stories in here. They are really adorable. Like, this book is really wonderful and magnificent, and I love it so much. Part of it is that I love Bod and he's adorable, but also like each of the side characters is also incredibly entertaining and has their own backstory. Um, and then there's the whole threat kind of in the background until we get to the end about Jack coming back and trying to kill Bod, and why Jack wanted to kill Bod in the first place. Um, and Bod learns to do some really awesome things while he's living in the graveyard that maybe aren't quite so normal. Um, so I really love this book. I listened to the audiobook for this, which is narrated by Neil Gaiman. The illustrations in this edition are by Dave McKean, although I didn't really read this one. It was kind of like I asked my brother what I should read. He handed me this book, and then I went and got the audiobook because I was going for a walk. That's why I ended up listening to the audiobook, even though I had the physical book in my hands. But it's just awesome. I listened to the entire audiobook in one day. That's how I spent New Year's. I just sat and colored, and it was awesome. So, totally just went through the whole book, like, totally captivating and marvelous and fantastic and sweet, and I totally gave it 5 stars, like, no hesitation on that. This book is amazing. May actually be my favorite Neil Gaiman book right now. Yeah, definitely. So, totally check out the Graveyard Book, even if you don't like children's books, just because it's just that wonderful. It's amazing. I love it. It's very well executed. Um, yeah. I also love like the wisdom that each of these older people have. Like, they have all these different backstories, and they all come from different walks of life, but like what they remember from their old lives, and like how they're trying to teach Bod to grow up to be like a good man and try to pass on the wisdom that they have from their own lives. Um, some of it's really sweet, and yeah. So I totally recommend The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Like, completely unreservedly recommend this book. Totally, absolutely go check it out. I love it so much. Yeah. So peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye.